Hi everyone, welcome back. Unfortunately, this video isn't of me being at the racetrack. I'm still at the shop, but it is what it is, so we might as well make the best of it. If you're new to the channel or a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I'm not doing this for fame. I'm just looking for some kind of a way to give back to short track racing and maybe even share a few more things that I like to do, like amateur fabrication, mechanics, restoration, maybe sometime in the future. We'll see, I don't know. But mostly it's racing content. Obviously, it's all mechanically oriented, like car stuff. That's what we do here. Tell your friends if you think somebody you know would like something that I do. Who knows? Send them my way if you think that. Either way, we were supposed to be racing and we're not. Obviously, if you saw my last video, we got canceled. And that stinks because we haven't raced in like, let's see, early April. It's now almost June, maybe 2 months. It'll be about 2 months between races. And with my plans for the future, I am planning on going somewhere different. I'm still undecided as to whether or not I want to just skip it and go straight to my new track or not, but we still have enough time that we can make that choice if necessary. But in order for me to go to that track, I'm going to need a lot of stuff changed over or parts to be ready. Therefore, I'm making a list. I see the pile of crap is still here. That's unfortunate. So I'm going to have to figure that out first. I got my tires for the other track sitting here. Obviously, they're all used. We're going to have to get new ones and stuff eventually, but, you know, we could shake it down on old stuff. There's my old my old seat out of the late model that I sold, if nobody remembers that. That's still here, just holding my excess tools. But when we go, if you don't know, we race this car at Thompson Speedway in Connecticut. It's been my home for, well, my family's team has been racing there for 22 years. I had to do math. We went there in 02. It's 22 years, yes. In this corner, I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I would need if I want to go to Stafford, which is where I intend on going because, well, I like the rules more. I'm a little bit more well-versed in it. I have all the parts, things of that nature. Back down there is a bolt-in axle Ford 9-inch rear. You can actually see these axle shafts just kind of hanging out here. Yeah, those go to that. I've got a transmission that's been freshly rebuilt. Actually, I got two of them that are freshly rebuilt sitting right there. I think I'm going to grab one of them when I go to Stafford because the transmission that's in this car is a little more valuable than I like for using because, well, if you're racing in any division, you know that a 3-speed 150 Saginaw is worth its weight in myrrh and any other biblical term you can use. Frankincense, maybe. I've got another, just a standard, I think like a 168 sitting over there I'm probably going to use for Stafford. Because I run a 456 rear, so I just run the thing in high gear anyway, so it's close enough. We use that torque. I got my crate motor sitting over here under this cover. I think I'm going to do a leak down test on that, make sure that's good to go. So we're going to pull that rear out. We're going to pull a transmission out. We're going to pull the Ford 9-inch chuck that I'm going to use. And I'm going to try to get one of those carriers up there and make it 31 spline because I think that's what those axles are. And we got to make it an open diff if we're going to go to Stafford. If there's any new viewers to the channel, you know that I race this, which is called, I don't know, 3 different things lately. It's been called the Street Stock. It's been called the Strictly Stock way back in the day. It's been called the Sportsman. It's been called a Limited Sportsman. Name it what you wish. At Stafford, they're called Street Stocks. At Thompson, they were called Limited Sportsman for a long period of time. Now I call them Limited Late Models. Some people call them Street Stocks still. So it doesn't... We're arguing semantics here. Street Stock. Asphalt. There. Now you know what it is. At Stafford, the rules there are very conducive to making it more about the driver than the car, okay? You still have to run stock body shocks. You can't run outboard shocks. You can't have a locked rear, which is a very interesting thing that a lot of places don't do. I like that because it makes it very hard to drive compared to other stuff. Like if you've got, like I've got in this car, you know, a standard floating Ford 9-inch rear. A lot of people run those. You can also run outboard shocks on this car right now. It's set up for both. But a lot of places allow that, especially all across the country. Up here in the Northeast, for a long period of time, like up until a couple years ago, I'm privileged enough to have at least 3 to 4 racetracks in this area that have very similar, or used to have very similar rules. And a lot of the street stock type divisions used to have just open rears. And it was a lot of fun. I love those rules because, again, it makes it really hard to drive. Thompson and a bunch of other tracks around here, except for Stafford, have gone the way of pretty much everywhere else in the country where you're allowed floating Ford 9-inch rears and locked rears and outboard shocks, things of that nature. And they've also allowed like a more of a sportsman style body on the car instead of the traditional body for the chassis you're using, which, I mean, that's where a lot of places allow it, and I can't afford that. So I am going to make the change to go to Stafford eventually. We are going full-time next year, hopefully. Fingers crossed, thanks to a really awesome sponsor of mine who does not get enough credit, but these boys help me out a ton, and they hopefully, if everything goes well, will be helping me out to go down or go up to Stafford and run full time. And we've got a lot of big plans, but we have to get there first. So all that aside, I know that was a lot of talking. I just really like the rule changes, or not the rule changes, but I just really like the rule package. These cars drive so much better with the stock body shocks and open rears. It opens the window up to just so much more competition. When everybody has all the same parts, if you got a crate motor with outboard shocks and locked rears at the tracks that we race at, you never see any parity. It really made the racing boring. Like, it's really boring. So I like the rules. We're going there, and we got to get the parts together to do it. So we could at least get them ready, right? And then when we make the choice to go, then we can go. So let me tell you how ridiculous I am. I'm getting this spare set of lowers together, and I'm trying to clean them up. So I got my ball joint wrench out, and I'm trying to rip this one off, and it's not coming off. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll just leave it until it blows out and then try to deal with it then, or just junk the whole lower. Then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, if I'm cleaning this, and I'm using this degreaser and these toothbrushes, like, what am I doing? I literally have a parts washer. So why am I not using that? Well, like my grandmother once told me, oh, your mind's the first thing to go with age. I don't know. She thought my name was Joe anyway, and she died. So anyway, I'm going to put these in the parts washer and do it the right way because I have the right tools for once. well. I'm not seeing any weird orange peels or any like skin or anything coming out of them. I took a flashlight and made sure I caught the bad spots, but you know, it's kind of refreshing to be doing stuff like this again, where I actually take pride in what I'm doing and try to make things look as good and as professional as possible. I used to do this sort of stuff, but I don't know, I got away from it because I'm like, oh, pretty don't go. But it's like, well, yeah, but do you want to handle a rusty pile of crap, or do you want to handle, you know, something that looks nice? I mean, I'd rather handle stuff that looks nice. I mean, you start doing stuff like what I was doing before and just kind of leaving things to their own devices and not caring about how they looked and stuff. And you start that, it starts a snowball of, okay, well, you know, this looks like crap. Oh, well, I'll just leave that because I'll just work on something else. And then eventually you get to the point where the whole car looks like crap and you almost don't care. And that level of don't care bleeds over into everything else that you're doing. And I don't know what it is, but there's some weird psychological thing behind it where you just tend to lose interest because of this giant landslide of neglect, I guess, and apathy. But you know, I'm really trying to make better strides in just the overall pride in my workmanship and in my equipment. And it's a long time coming, because I think that if I get back to a point where I start taking care of my stuff and I start making it look better and I start, you know, paying better attention to it, maybe we'll run better. Maybe I'll change my mindset and, you know, maybe we'll get back to a point where we're competitive again, because I'll have expelled all of this negative thought, negative ideations, and maybe I'll get back there. You know, maybe if I just start caring more about the little things, that maybe it'll bring me to a point where I'm more motivated, and maybe good things will come from that. So we got a lot more things to do. I'm gonna clean up the bench here because we got to start putting together that rear. The Ford 9-inch chuck that I'm gonna bring to Stafford, I think. Everybody's like, oh, why aren't you running your 7.5? I'm like, well, the Ford 9-inch is way stronger. And I mean, yeah, I might lose a little bit because of rotational weight of the gears and stuff, but at the same time, I'm not gonna break it. I break everything. You know, I don't fall too far from the family tree here. I break everything, and I will test the limits of strength for everything, and I got parts coming for that thing, trust me. But I don't want to break down, because at Stafford, you can't pit. That's the rule. If you're in a street stock or anything lower than a late model, I think there's the top modified division and the late model division are the only two that can pit, because their pit road inside where all the trailers are is very tight, and they don't allow you to just come off the track and pit like they do at other tracks. If you're in a street stock, limited late model, or a light modified division, you're stuck. So I need the car to be as bulletproof as possible, so that the only thing that might happen to take me off of the racetrack would be some kind of catastrophic failure or tire failure. And if I'm running the Ford 9-inch, that takes a lot of issue out of the rear axle, because that thing ain't breaking. And it might help my braking situation as well, because I'll have essentially C-clip eliminated axle. It's, you know, a sealed bearing, you just kind of bolt it into the end. So we'll put that together and try it. Who knows, maybe it'll work. So I got the carrier that I gotta run over here on the bench. It needs to be cleaned. I'll probably throw her in a parts washer once I get her all the way disassembled. But these are typically two-piece for the open carriers, like the factory ones, because you got the cross pin here with this set pin. There might be one, nope, not one on the other side. And inside, you got the cross pin that holds the spider gears, and obviously on the ends, the axle goes in and meets up with your spider gears for the axle side. So I got her blown apart here. I got one of the axles that I'm probably going to be using sitting over here. And this thing is really beefy. So I'm thinking about all the rotational weight and the horsepower I'm going to lose by using these, but then I'm thinking, yeah, but it's not going to break. So I got these, I think, are 28 spline that I pulled out of here. Like I said, parts washer is going to come in clutch here. I bought these off Rock Auto, and I better not say anything that even sounds remotely like I'm criticizing them, or else the comment Gestapo is going to come after me, even though I wasn't complaining the last time I was talking about Rock Auto on this channel. That seems to fit perfectly. That's a 31 spline spider gear, because I only bought the carrier gears. I didn't need the top ones because, well, they're in here. And I got, that is my first hurdle. Okay, it fits the carrier. That's good. Fits the axle. That's good. So our third and final hurdle. All right. So it fits the carrier and the spider. That's good. So now I can continue. I'll probably disassemble the whole thing. Bearings on it are perfect, so I'm not even going to change those. I think I've run this carrier before with a mini spool way back in the day. So I'm going to pull the pin. We're going to get the other side coupler bearing, or whatever you want to call these things. Gear, not a bearing at all. All right, so I'm tired. We're going to blow this thing apart, throw it in the parts washer, and then we're going to get the carrier out and start working on that too. Obviously, since this is my stuff in my garage and my project, there are problems. Because I can't get the crossbar out, mainly because it's destroyed. And it's worn a groove in there so that you can't actually get it past these spider gears. And I've hammered it in there so hard out of absolute rage that it literally mushroomed over the end of the spider gear, and I can't get it out. So that's where brute force comes in. Yep, it always gets to this point at some time. I'm always going, and I have to cut something off because, you know, I should have did this the first try and just bought a new cross pin off Rock Auto, but no. Oh, that ain't good. I guess I'm going to have to go get my other one. You know, file this under tools I never expected to buy. And under maybe this probably won't work, but we're going to try it anyway. Maybe I got to angle it a little bit. Ow! I probably just gummed it. Let's try again. Oh, come on. Stop it. Ah! Ow! Think I'm just gonna get on Rock Auto and order me some new spider gears and a cross pin, because that's bad. And I'd hate to look at what the inside of the spider gears look like, because yeah, they're junk. I might as well just not even bother pounding this one out. I might as well just order new ones and stop wasting my time. Matter of fact, to stop myself from wasting my own time. There, and you can also go in there. or not. As I root through my parts bin, I guess that means that my attempt to rebuild this thing is on hold until I get my parts in from whatever parts bin that I buy them from, be it Rock Auto or some other website or parts place near me. They're probably going to be the cheapest ones for the price because I can get Yukon stuff, and that stuff ain't bad. So I think I'm going to order up all new stuff because all I got is these GM ones, and I don't think they're going to be even close to fitting. And might as well get the right stuff and get all new stuff because then at least I got all new stuff. So that won't cost too much, but time. And time I don't have a lot of. So, but to go to Stafford, I guess I do. So, I got time. So I apologize for the light situation here, but I got my flashlight, so it's just too hot to leave the door closed. I'm looking at my carriers, and I'm noticing, I got two, by the way. I put the second one in here. Thank God I had two of them because I'm not really too keen on this. If I look inside the one that I was working on with the stuff I was trying to get out and then ended up figuring out it was ruined, so I wasted all that time. I don't know if you can see this or not, but inside this, you can see where the inner spider gear sits. And I think the light's kind of washing it out. But if you give it a little bit of light, you can see some lines in where the bearing would be. Well, that bearing race right there, actually you can see it better like that. The bearing race area here is all marked up. You can actually hear my fingernail scraping across it, so that's not great. So I think I might just hose that off just as a spare anyway. But this old greasy one that I got is absolutely mint. It's just kind of grody. So I think we'll clean this off. I might swap the bearings over. I might buy new bearings, but these are too big, so I don't know. I might just swap them because these are still good and I'm cheap. Then we'll get an order in on Rock Auto, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll have a nice brand new setup here. Of course, a brand new problem emerges because I looked at the bore, the axle tube bore of each one, and this one looks kind of heavy, and this one, oh, kind of doesn't. So I stuck this one on the 31 spline axle, and it doesn't fit. So this is obviously for something 28 spline, because I don't think they made anything smaller. And this one was made at least for 31 spline, or somebody machined it out to be 31 spline because it looks like it's been machined out. Great. And I don't feel like buying a new one, so I'm looking in here, and these bearing races are not so great at best. Not so great also. So I'm either going to have to find somebody to machine this one out, or I'm going to have to find the right carrier. But I'm 0 for 2 on Ford 9-inch carriers. I think that pretty much ends my night here. So I'm going to go inside and peruse Rock Auto, unless my comment section goes crazy again and accuses me of whining about it again and gives me a bad rating on my video again, even though I didn't the first time. And I'm going to see if I can find either another carrier. I do need the other spider gears and a cross pin and a roll pin. But I think the open carriers are a lot cheaper than like something else, but we'll figure it out. But I'm going to have to do a little bit of research before I start diving into this thing again. So we got to be right. You know, it has to be right. We can't have it come apart. So if that means buying another one, well, that happens. So I guess I'll go in and clean myself off from cleaning solution because I smell like I could light a fire any moment. So until next time, or tomorrow or whenever I get back in here. It's Friday. I decided to be a little bit more domestic. I skipped a day because, well, it was my birthday. I got my wife something that she might like because she lets me drive race cars and have them at the house, so happy wife. Got Stafford on the tube. We're gonna sit here and enjoy it, have a little shop night, which is great. I got some stuff to clean up. I got, you know, the car's becoming a table again, and when your race car becomes a table, that's an issue. But I got these things off of Temu. I think this was like 10 bucks. And it came with these shelves, which is cool because I've got this big pile of like sanding discs and stuff, which I'll show you what I did with them later. And I got a shelf right up there. I can put that right with the air tools, which I typically use my sanding discs with that. So that's a good spot. But I got these little power tool hangers. Check these out, you know? So you can literally, this is really hard to, yeah, real hard to do one-handed. You can hang up your power tools, and I did put two next to each other, and they do fit. And that's pretty sweet. It comes with 4 of them. You know, the 2 regular shelves and the 2 power tool brackets. I think, like I said, it was like 10 bucks or 10 and change or something like that. And, I mean, if you break them, you're not out so much money. So, whatever. That's not a huge deal. Otherwise, we're going to start getting back to work again. I got to clean the thing off again. Like I've said before, when your race car becomes a table, stuff's going bad. So, we got to make sure she's nice and clean. Meanwhile, I took a second look at my carriers, and obviously, like, this one is the 28 spline one. It's a nice carrier, and I'll hang on to it. Maybe I'll have somebody machine it down for me or something with a lathe or whatever you could use to do that. You might have to bolt them together and stick it in one end of whatever you got to do. But this thing, I said it was kind of bad looking, but I took one of them really, you know, fine, like 3M pad discs. You know, something that's not going to take a lot of material off, or really any. It's more of a cleaner than anything else. Well, this came out pretty well. I mean, there's no real raised ridges. Yeah, and then down here, this one's pretty good. I think I'm just going to reuse it. I'll clean it up a little bit more. And the shims are pretty good. I thought they would be all scuffed up, but they're actually not. So I think I'll just reuse this. We'll wait for my cross pin and other spider gears to come in. A fresh cross pin would be wonderful. I got this one. It's kind of ugly, and it looks like it's just starting to wear right here, so maybe I'll just hang on to it as a spare. I don't know why these Ford cross pins seem to wear out a lot, because I've never had that problem when all the years of us running those GM 7.5-inch rears. I've never had a cross pin wear out. So we'll just hang on to that and wait for parts. I wanted to do something and try to see how this felt. And I put some oil on the bottom. Then I put the shim, because there's always a little metal shim on your spider gears. And then I put some oil on the top and stuck the spider gear in. And I'll tell you what, that is very smooth. No hard spots, no gouges, no digs, no nothing. It's just, yeah, that's nice. So I think we're just going to go with it. The bearings are fresh. I'll clean them out. I already washed the whole thing down, but I'll just hose them off again before we get out there. And like I said, I just got to wait on parts, which is unfortunate. But I got a couple more things I got to wash, like these spider gear shims for the upper and lower spider gears. I don't know, the ones that go on the pin. I don't know what the hell they're called, but I just know what they do. So obviously I'm not going to show you that on camera because that's kind of boring. I got to look around and see what else I can do to get this parts list whittled down, and we can be ready for our changeover. So I made a decision that's a pretty easy one for the next race. I'm just going to go to Thompson because I don't have anything set up and ready to go for Stafford yet. And obviously the car is sitting here ready. And we can learn a lot if we just do this, because if there's a problem with the car, everything is going to be exaggerated at a bigger track. And whatever issue I have at Thompson, I've taken the car to Waterford and tested it before, and it had the exact same problem at a different racetrack. So I might as well learn something. we might as well just keep it together. We might as well just not go screwing around and changing stuff and moving things around. I think I really need to do a leak down test on the motor, because I don't think I've ever done that on the channel, and I would really like it if people started yelling at me for doing that wrong too, but because then I'll learn. But I do have a leak down tester, and this motor, I'm going to do the math on how old this engine actually is. This crate motor was built in 2017, and I bought it and raced it in 2018. But you got to remember, I don't run full seasons because that's kind of the schedule I've only been able to run, is partial seasons ever since coming to the street stocks, because that's all we've been able to do. Thompson had the road course put in 2013, I want to say. I came back in like 15, yep. And it's been part-time ever since, like between 6 and 10 races at a time. And if you throw like 2020 away, I think I only ran 3 races there, and they were all at Stafford. So there's not a lot of time on this motor, to be fair. Like, I want to say less than 40 races, which with a crate motor, if you take care of it, it's really not that bad. I've seen these things last 100 to 125, maybe even 150 races. And guys just run them until the rings don't seat no more, and then they just trade it in for a new one or whatever they do with them. So I'll do a leak down test, which is pretty important to see how she seals up. She's still got great oil pressure. Let's check it. All right, guys, I've been monkeying around with this leak down tester that I got. And the regulator on it is, well, I'll be honest, it's kind of crap. I mean, I'm trying my best here. I'm trying to get it to set to 0. This is the best it's been so far. Oh. Let me just release a little pressure on it just to see if it's... Okay, let's try. This thing is real wonky. I gotta like... It won't change unless I... Yeah, see, now it's too much. Like I said, this... Okay, let's try that. Hopefully I can find a regulator for this that's not a complete piece of junk, but let's just see what it says, because I'm in the set range. This says it's low. This isn't accurate. Okay? You're supposed to test this when you warm the engine up according to the instructions. I don't know if that's the real way to do it or not, but this says low, like 22%. But like I said, this is a cold engine. So with this much leak down on a cold motor, I bet you with the rings sealed up, you'll see even less. Why don't we move to a different cylinder? Like, we'll go to number 3 right behind it. By the way, I don't have it at TDC either, so that's probably throwing it off a little bit as well. So you just take your little rubber hose out. It's just like checking compression. You just kind of plug it in, plug it out. But like I said, even with the engine cold, I'm really quite pleased. Okay, that's... Oh. I think I made it angry. What is happening here? It's blowing out of something, and I don't know what it is. What do you want to bet I accidentally, like, left one of the valves a little too tight? I'm going to have to check it. I didn't like that. I don't know what that is. Yep. Exhaust valve's a little tight. Hang on. So I took a look in this number 3 exhaust seat, and I think there's a piece of carbon that might be kind of in the way of the valve that might have, you know, sat and flaked off and maybe causing some kind of a seal issue. I'm going to have to take a quick gander at that and make sure there's no issue there while I, oh yeah, this thing got unplugged for some reason because I was hitting valves with a hammer. Oh, yeah, this one, number 5 here. For some reason, all the exhaust valves. That's very odd. There's not a lot of leakage, though, if you look at it. I'm thinking it's just a little bit of buildup. I had that problem with this built motor when it sat for a while. And I took it and... Geez, I'm watching this race over here. It's getting ugly. But one of the cylinders didn't want to seal, and then I ran it for a little while, and I tested it again, and it started sealing again. So, you know, sometimes it just sitting just ain't great for them. This one seems fine. Yeah, very low. Like I said, sitting ain't great for them, and I'll throw some Marvel Mystery Oil down them and make sure that this thing just doesn't have any real issues moving forward, because it's still a good motor. There's really no leakage being detected. I mean, we're low in the green here, so I'll get some doctoring done and we'll work on her. So I'm going to consult with some people on this thing. The leak down looked fine, but it felt like I was getting a little bit of air out of the exhaust ports, so I'm thinking I might have this thing looked at. Maybe we might have to trade her in. I was talking all sorts of good things about her, and then all of a sudden it's saying, oh, it's got a little leaky out the exhaust valves. Maybe it's a little older than you think. I don't know what it is, but we'll have it looked at, and we'll see what happens. But the leak down was good, so, I mean, can't be that bad. It's the next day, and it is package day. I've got a whole bunch of stuff in here, except none of you are going to see it because that's for a future episode. Otherwise, I think I've come to the conclusion that the motor, yeah, you know, if you've got air escaping out of exhaust valves when the exhaust valves have been loosened up so that they are seated in the head, that's not good, because you shouldn't have anything coming out of those. And I'm thinking we probably need a new power plant, and that's not good. Like, that puts a huge dent in my plans. Because in order to go to Stafford, I need a 602 crate, and guess what? That's a 602 crate with, like, I don't even remember how many races are on it, but it's like a season and a half of racing if you raced like 18 to 20 races like normally, which is where a lot of places do around here. Yeah, that's not good, because an engine is $6,500. Does it look like I can afford one of those right now? Let's be honest. That's a big expense. Luckily around here, there are engine programs where you can actually trade that thing in with an engine builder, and he'll give you like, I forget how much it is. He'll give you like $2,500 off of a new motor, and I might be able to swing that. So I'm probably going to be on the phone with him on Monday talking about my situation, and that stinks. But if we're going to go somewhere new, we might as well go somewhere with a nice fresh power plant that's going to last us probably a long time. I mean, this one lasted me since 2018. Guess it's time to give her up, but I don't really have any other work to do because none of my parts came in, and I got to get this video out to you, so I apologize for another short episode and another boring episode, but this and this whole channel, let's be fair, this thing is exactly what it's like to own a race car and run short track racing nowadays. This is how it is. Especially doing it on your own, because these are the problems you're going to face. These are the budget issues you're going to run into, and this is the stuff you're going to have to learn in order to do it yourself. And that's the whole point of my channel right now, until we get mad, quit, and start working on hot rods and stuff. So either way, I think I'll cut the video off here and we'll get this one out to you real quick. Hopefully, again, fingers crossed, that we actually do get some racing in and we get to go in a couple weeks at Thompson. I think it's probably about a week and, well, it's a little less than 2 weeks. Let's just put it that way. And I'll have to keep you updated on that because that motor situation is not good. So anyway, if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so because, again, subscriber numbers are going to help me a lot. Watch hours are helpful. You don't have to buy nothing from me. You don't have to do nothing but help me out and share this thing with people you might know who might like this sort of thing. And that would be extraordinarily helpful because then a multi-billion-dollar company in Google could maybe send me a few pennies in ad revenue here and there if we actually get over the 1,000 subscriber mark. And I appreciate every single one of you who does. That's why I try to get these videos out at least on a weekly basis. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you. And until next time.